thank you all for joining me tonight. Hopefully you guys can all hear me okay. I'm actually doing this Zoom call from the gallery where I have an exhibit up. Unfortunately, the gallery is closed, but we have a chance to walk through and I'm going to share it with you tonight. So my name is Tova Speter, and I am an artist and art therapist, community muralist, art consultant, sort of all things artist. And I started a new endeavor when I turned 40, when I created a new painting and decided that since I hadn't painted in a while, because I have a couple young kids, I decided, you know what, today I did a painting and I'm going to paint 40 new paintings in my 40th year, and it's going to be really great. And I have this goal, and at the end of the year I'm going to have a big exhibit and I'm going to share all 40 works, and it's going to be a great celebration. Well, a couple months into into that year, I realized that was really a ridiculous goal to set for someone as busy as I am, and just someone in general. I mean, 40 paintings in a year is quite a big feat. And so while I didn't do 40 paintings myself, I was determined to still have an exhibit with 40 works. And so I did what I do best, which is to get creative, and I enlisted the help of 3 other women who I know who are some of the most inspiring women in my life, who also are balancing working, being a mom, and creating artwork. And so we ended up with 4 artists, and each of us did 10 works. And so we still have a show of 40 pieces, and that's part of what I'm going to share with you tonight. So the way that the project works, it's called translations, and it's a chain of painting, poetry, mosaic, and assemblage. And so I wanted this not just to be a group show of 10 works with each artist to make the 40, but I really wanted them to be connected in some way. And so I started by creating a painting, and I would then send an image of that painting to my wonderful friend Maya Bernstein over in New York. And she is a poet, amongst other things, and she created a poem inspired by the painting that I sent her. She then sent me back the poem, and I sent it on to another friend, Emily Bargava, who's a wonderful mosaic artist, and she translated Maya's poem into a mosaic piece without ever having seen my painting as the original inspiration. I then got the mosaic and sent that last one off to yet another friend, Maria Beatriz Arvelo, and she created a natural assemblage piece that was inspired by the mosaic. Again, she never saw the poem and she never saw my work either. And what resulted was this amazing connection and energy across all the pieces. You would have thought that, you know, each one had really seen all of the other ones because there was just this energy that existed in translating the artwork through the different modalities that was really quite special and unique. And it resulted in this exhibit in the gallery where I am right now. And unfortunately it's closed. So the exhibit opened in March, and we had an opening, and then all of the other events were canceled. The good news is that even though my show was supposed to end in April, it's extended indefinitely because the gallery is closed, and so no new shows are coming in. So right now the work is still up, and I am hopeful for a time when we can welcome people in again to enjoy it. But right now I'm going to be able to walk you around a little bit. I'm going to show you some of the work, and it's a little bit hard to just walk around with the camera. So I'll show you a little bit, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the images in a slideshow so you can see them a little bit clearer. So bear with me for a moment. I'm going to switch to my mobile situation, and I'm just going to walk us over, and we'll get started in 1 second. Okay, so here we are. I've walked to the entrance of the gallery. This is the Gorse Mill Gallery. It's in Needham. This is also where my studio is, and so I have access to the building. But this is when you walk in, you see that it's translations and the names of the artists. And so I want to show you the piece that started it all off. So this, this grouping is called Long Night Moon. And it's amazing when you can see them together, but I'll walk you one at a time. So this was my piece that really started the whole thing off. And it's called Long Night Moon. It was painted on my birthday, which was the winter solstice. And it also coincided with a supermoon, which was called the Long Night Moon. And my work, for people who don't know, I paint on found wood. So all of the work that I do is on pieces that would otherwise be scrap. I find them in dumpsters or carpenter excess, side of the road, wherever I can find them. And all of the painting that I do is inspired and really highlighting the natural grain pattern in the wood. So every line I paint is a line that is naturally in the wood. I just choose which ones to pull forward or pull back. There's always at least 1 or 2 lines that I leave naturally, the natural wood, which is right like here and over here. And in this whole exhibit, I played with the idea of stencils. And so I would create a vinyl stencil. In this case, it was the moon here, put it on as a sticker, paint everything how I naturally would, and then peel it off to reveal the wood itself. So this was the first piece. The poem that resulted, sorry for my shaky hands here, is called Long Night. And Maya writes, "Is it my moon rising in full view, long view? My shimmering orb aglow above the lapping waters? Or is it merely a reflection of some brighter star? Or perhaps it is the cold moon's long light leaving me yearning, exposed adrift beyond the sea." So just that poem is what Emily got. And here you can see the mosaic pendant. So she normally does a lot of really large scale community mosaics, but for this project, she focused just on creating a small mosaic. And what struck me at first with this is if you look here at the composition and the colors, and you look back at my piece, she never saw my piece. She only saw that poem and read that poem, and yet there's a clear connection between our works. And finally, just that piece went to Maria, who uses natural objects. Here, I'm trying to get you to see it. This is a piece of wood from a tree. I think it was from a root that she found. And here her moon is a rock, a stone that she happened upon on the beach in Gloucester. So they're all individual pieces, but really, you know, and beautiful in their own right for sure. But there is something just really special when you see them all together. They speak to each other, and that's where we really found the power of the connection. So walking through, and I'm going to show you the rest of them just in a slideshow, so it's not as shaky, but walking through, the exhibit went through the 4 seasons. So we have 2 from each season. There's one for winter, and here's the next set from winter. Here's spring, and where my computer's set up, so I can't show you the rest, but here's the rest of spring. This is hive, when the bees start fluttering about. And then into summer, this is oak and bloom. And unfortunately, some of these had live plants involved, which I'll show you in the images, but we took them home for this extended hiatus here. This is migration, which happens in the fall, and falling forward in the fall. And I know I'm not doing it justice right now, but just to get us to the end, and then I'll go back to for the slideshow. But it ended with the full moon. I mean, it began, sorry, excuse me. It began with that full super moon, and so it ended here with a new moon. So very similar, but just that little crescent beginning, and this is called Earthshine. And here's the mosaic and the assemblage with this. So I'm gonna walk us back. I'm gonna go dark for a second, and then I will reappear with the slideshow. Okay. So, oops, sorry, a couple more people were trying to just get in. Okay, so now I'm back. You can see me again. Okay, so thank you for going on that little walking tour with me. I'm going to show you just a couple, again, of the pieces more clearly, and I'll also share with you guys the link to see these all on the website if you want to spend some more time with the pieces. And actually on the website, you can also hear Maya read the poems herself. But so this was the exhibit as it was intended to be. And there's Long Night Moon. Since we already went through this one, I'll go through this one a little bit quickly. But here's the painting, the poem, the mosaic, and the assemblage. And I'll just highlight a couple others. I'll go through them a little bit quickly. I just want to have time to be able to share a couple other things as well. But really, it was just such a wonderful experience to be able to share this work and to see how something I began could be translated in such unique and creative ways that were so different. I never would have anticipated any of them, and yet they all really work together. So I'm going to bring you to, here I'll bring you to spring. So this is the spring collection, just because this is the season we're in right now. This is my piece that started it, and I was playing with ideas both of the greens of spring and also the idea of a spring itself being a spiral. And this is what Maya came up with. I'll let you just read that to yourself for a minute. She really picked up on the lines and the sort of scarring within that wood piece. And as she really, explored what the piece was about, this is the mosaic pendant that came up as a result. And then this is the assemblage, which had live sprouts. So it's at home now, being taken care of by Maria. We couldn't leave it in the gallery here by itself. But there's one, and actually I'll pull out a couple others really quickly. So this one is Hive, and was inspired in part by my daughter, whose name is Ya'ara, which in Hebrew means honeycomb. And so you can't see it from this picture, but her name is actually hidden in the bee's wings here in the piece. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. So right in there, you can kind of see her name. But this was Hive. This is one of people's favorites. I'm not going to read the poem right now, but this was the pendant. And again, never saw my original piece, right? It's amazing what energies can come through when you're looking closely at art. And here is that assemblage with the honeycomb embedded into the piece of wood itself. So they're all, they're so different. Oh, and this one, I can't talk about Ya'ara and not talk about Ilan. So this one is about a tree, and my son Ilan's name means tree in Hebrew. And so his name is actually hidden here in the, sort of in the branches. You can kind of see it in that stencil. But so here's the mosaic and assemblage. And you can see here, even though when I walked around, you didn't see it before, but in the assemblage of this piece, there is a live orchid, I'll show you here, that was growing out of this root ball. And I'll end here with migration. And this one also has a little live tree. Here was my piece with the butterfly and the poem. You'll need to go to the website, you can read more of it. But this was the pendant, which was she called Homecoming. And Maria's interpretation here is just amazing. She is an immigrant from Venezuela, and she created this with each, 3 different bases sort of all joined together. One has dirt as the base, one has sand, and one has tea. And she just really talked about exploring the idea of having like what home means and where home is. And she has in one section a rock in the shape of a heart, because there's one place where her heart might be. And in another one on that sand are roots, right? Her roots might be in someplace else, and her growth is in this third place. And yet they all exist together, and they're all part of her story. So I'm gonna stop the share there for a minute. And I just wanna explain really quickly the sort of second iteration of this before I open it up to questions. And so with this project of translations, it was so connecting to the 4 of us. None of the other 3 artists knew each other. I knew all of them, but they didn't know each other. And they really felt a very strong connection with each other going through this process of translating the work, and especially seeing it all together and seeing how it all relates so nicely. And so once the pandemic hit and things were shut down and this exhibit was shut down, it was really hard, because I felt like, oh, this would have been the perfect thing in a time like this to show how you can feel connected and how art can really connect people. And just it's such a calm place to be in here and walk around and enjoy this artwork inspired by nature. And so I decided to start a virtual version of this, and it is called Translations, Chains of Positive Energy. And it's a virtual project I've started, open to any artist, any non-artist, or for someone who doesn't think they're an artist yet. So all of you guys here tonight with me are definitely welcome to participate. And what it is that I asked people to share a word or phrase that describes a quality or mindset that helps them get through these challenging times. And each of those became the start of a chain. And people can sign up for any modality, whether it's poetry, dance, music, art, cooking, I mean, whatever you want, whatever you do or want to do. And, I'll get a word, I'll send it to one artist who signed up, who might translate that word into a photograph. And then I'll get the photograph and I'll send it to the next person who's going to translate it in music, and then to dance, and then all these different modalities until a chain is complete, and then I'm posting them online. And so right now we're in the middle of about 10 chains that are going. So almost, there will be 70 artists once all of those are done, but the first one is complete. So I wanted just to show that and share that with you before I open it up to questions. So let me just do that here. So this first one, okay, so the first one was started by this word, listen, that somebody shared. Listen was a way that they get through these challenging times. And so I sent that to the next artist. This is a piece by Suzanne Hodis, who's an artist, wonderful artist in Waltham. And this was her interpretation and response to listen. And she described it as being, listening to the water and the ocean. But nobody knew that that's what she was doing, that it was about the water or anything. And so I took just that sketch and sent it on to the next artist, who is a poet. This is Cindy Rifka Marshall, and she created this poem, hunkered down, like a turtle drawn into a shell, or a bear snuffling in a cave, yet sentient still, aware of the crackling green buds, the wind blowing blue fragrance, awaiting the vivid bloom to ease the way. And so then just this poem went on to Courtney Teixeira, who created this drawing in response. And then that drawing went to Josh Meyer. Oh, and actually I should say the drawing, well, let's see if I remember without it in front of me. I think it was Waiting. I think it's Waiting is the title of this. So just the titles went on with each work as they went down. And this one was called In Place by Josh Meyer. And then his work went to Mikhail, who created this mosaic, this collage, that's untitled, but she included that word breathe. And then this piece went to Susan Epstein, who just was asked to, you know, share a word or phrase that she thinks of when she sees this piece to end the chain. And she thought of the word enlightenment. And she shared, at the end of confinement, we emerge enlightened. And so we started with the word listen, and we ended with the word enlightenment. And so it's this really nice way to translate these emotions and feelings that some of us are having during these times. And I'll show you just the start of the next one, and then we'll open up for questions. So the next one here is hope. And each of these I had whoever shared the word, they wrote it in their handwriting and took a picture and shared it with me so they could, you know, they can be part of it. So hope started this next chain. We got this photograph by Christine. And we got this collage by Yael. And then it was translated to this painting. This one is called A New Day Blooms. And actually this has gone a couple other chains, but I don't want to share them yet because it's not finished. And just in case somebody's here who's a part of that chain, I don't want them to know what came before. But yeah, so that is what I've been doing, both, you know, my own exhibit as well as what I'm inviting other people to do. So if people have questions, I would encourage you to put them in the chat box, and I'm happy to answer. I just stuck in there 2 links for you guys. One of them is a link to the website where you can view all the work that's here as part of this exhibit. And the second one, although it looks like maybe they combined together there in the chat. You might have to separate those. But the second one was a direct link to the chains of positive energy, and also the form to fill out if any of you guys want to participate. I definitely always need more artists because I have a lot of words that people have submitted, and I haven't started all of the chains that I can yet because I just need more artists. So please sign up, and that would be wonderful. So I'm looking just at a couple of the questions. So so Monica's asking, when did I realize I wanted to be an artist full time? That's a really great question. That's a really great question. I've always been artistic and like to do artistic things. It's mostly been as an aside, but I studied and got my master's as an art therapist, and it was right after graduating from that program that I got my first studio, where I just decided I wanted this space to be able to create work myself. And you know, as an artist, I have many jobs. Most of my time isn't making my own work. Most of my time is spent facilitating other people and helping them find the artist in themselves, and doing lots of workshops and community mural projects, a lot of which unfortunately is on hold right now because, you know, most of my work is working with communities and active engagement in art making. And so I've started doing some virtual workshops and engagement right now. But I think it was after my son was born that I decided not to go back to my full-time job. I've had lots of different jobs, whether it's been as a clinician or a program manager in an arts organization, different things, and decided that I really wanted to focus on working for myself. And that included some of that other stuff. I consult with some different nonprofits still, and I also have a private practice where I see clients using art in my therapy, my therapeutic practice. But I also just have the space to be able to make my own work as well as help others make work, and so that's been really wonderful for me. So there's another question about if Maya decided to write the poems on ripped paper. And actually, she didn't. She sent me the poems. She's the one artist who's not locally here. She's in New York, and she sent, she emailed me the poems, and when we were putting the work together, we had to figure out how we were going to install it. Unfortunately, Maya couldn't be here when we were installing due to a couple of reasons, including the pandemic, and where she was in New York at the time. But she just gave us full permission to do it how we wanted. And we played around with a lot of different ways. I tried, we were maybe gonna put it in vinyl type on the wall itself. I was gonna maybe burn it into wood to etch it, to do wood burning and put it into wood. I got all these really fancy papers, tried printing it on those. And we realized after, Emily, Maria, and I, the other artist, we realized after doing it in so many ways, it really the words were so beautiful. And I really encourage you guys all to go and read each of her poems. They're truly remarkable and really inspirational. And they were so wonderful on their own. We didn't want anything to distract from it. So the paper is actually scrap paper that I used to cover tables during art projects that I just had in my studio. And we printed it, I just printed it right on there, and we ripped it just to give a little bit more of a natural look. So yeah. I don't know if anybody has any other questions. I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for being here and joining me. And it's been my pleasure to share my work with you all tonight.